Ooh, I'm kind of glowing tonight. Let me brighten that up. As you guys can see, I still haven't changed the light bulb yet. It did go out. That is that is a light bulb that's probably as old as this stream or older, I think. But you know, it is what it is. Welcome to Tuesday's episode of your of a Flawed Man of God. I am your host, Flawed Man of God, Stuart Davis. Um, just a humble parishioner at down here outside of Richmond, Virginia. Um, welcome to my stream. Right, this is a place where I want to create a space, where I have created a space where we can all be relaxed and informal and come together as believers in God and Christ and the Holy Spirit and discuss matters of faith, partake in our current project, which is reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and ask questions. Maybe ask for prayers. Maybe talk about whatever's going on, whatever it happens to be. Um, we're here for it. We're here for it. So think of this place as a small group. Think of this place as a Sunday school because we are very small. But also think of this as a place for you to get input. This is my channel, but it's not about me. It's about God. It's about us as Christians. So you have an opportunity to be part of the show. And that means commenting. We are, like I said, small group, right? That means I don't have a whole lot of people, though. We got some activity some good activity in the chat tonight. Right right there already. But you can see we've got a good group of folks. They tune in most nights, and we'd love for you to be a regular, or you to pop in whenever you're able to, and I mean at least say hi, but also share what's going on in your life, what's going on up in your head. What do you need to get off your chest? What do you want to talk about? And we can go from there. The best streams I've found has been when the chat is active. I love you guys, and I'm so thankful for you guys tuning in. And many of you guys who are longtime members of the chat have been with this channel for years now, multiple years, 2-3 years, and I'm humbled by that. So, um, but that's my introduction, and also my disclaimer. I'm not a professional. I'm a lay person. Now, I grew up in the church. I've been a Christian all my life, but I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. So what you're getting from me is amateurish, but it is based on a lifetime of experience and just what I've learned, what I've gleaned, and what I've discussed with other Christians. So, be that as it is, we're gonna get this show started. What's going on, folks? Nico is here. You missed yesterday. How dare you? Carl, we know and love, haven't been around with the new job. Well, congrats on the new job. I just always figured you were watching in the background. A lot of times I'll say, well, Carl's probably lurking, and then you'll pop up with a yep. So, like I said, congrats on your new job, and hope things are well out there. Alias, haven't seen you in a bit, buddy. And Porcupine Mayhem. I knew it was you when you commented, just because I saw the bus in the back. So glad to see you're doing great, Porcupine. I follow Porcupine here on Instagram, Faith in a Schoolie, and just always seeing their updates there uh, as they conduct life in the bus, right? And but yeah, YouTube's gotten rid of everybody's handle, so now it's just at whatever, right? I know it's you. I know it's you. And Alias, what's going on? Like I said, good to see everybody. Good to see familiar faces, and starting off this new year right. Now, I talked about this a little bit last night, and if and the title of tonight's show is Ezekiel's vision, but if Matt Felty's not here, he was the one who requested this. We're just going to read chapters 3 and 4 tonight, because I'd hate for him, because this was per his request. I'd hate for him to request something and then not be here. And I've thought about that when I was starting the stream up. I was like, does he have small group on Tuesdays? For some reason, I thought he can't make Tuesday streams, but there you have it. So, I hope you guys had a great Christmas, because I know it's a little bit different group here tonight. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. I hope you guys had a good, are having a good new year. And let me pull this down. We've started things off here with a little bit of excitement. I got a great story to share. I got a couple of things to talk about before we get into, because Alex Moore is not here, has not been here to discipline me on starting the stream when I'm supposed to, and he hasn't been diligent in that. And there it goes. Why does my background keep disappearing? Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Media assets. Overlay. Is that it? Nope. Background. There it is. That's not it. There it is. Now things look familiar. Woohoo. All right. That's done. So, started off the Christmas break. Kids are getting out of school, and I've been walling off. I've been creating an electric fence around the property for what's going on, Veritax. Creating an electric fence around the property, and that is because we were expecting to get some goats. My parents have a small herd of pygmy goats, and they used to have a mix of crossbred Nubian and Boer goats, and we had them in our backyard for a bit, but they had a couple babies. We gave the babies back to my parents to put back in their herd, and then ours died, and just died off, and they got tired of the large goats, which Nubians are very large. Boer goats are meat goats. So they got a little bit tired of just the upkeep of those goats. So they switched from regular goats to pygmy goats. It's all digression. Anyway, so we were like, okay, well, bigger goats are harder to handle. We'd like to try again with some pygmy goats, and so I'd been creating a new fenced-in area. Now, it's on the side of my yard, because I'd like to expand my front yard, because it's very wooded, and I've been cutting trees down, expanding that yard, and now I want the goats to kind of eat the brush and tear that down in a way, and then just have this nice, not much nicer and open lawn in the front yard, and give the kids a little bit more space. So I've got that. Eventually, I'm gonna extend the fence all the way through the backyard and around the house to the other side, and whatever. I'm digressing again. And I'm boring you guys. I'm losing viewers. No. All this to say, I had finished the first portion of the electric fence, and so we get the goats. Okay. Dad comes to bring the goats. He drops them. He drops them off. The mama goat and two babies, and eventually we're going to get a Billy over here as well. So we take the mama goat out, and obviously she's not in a great mood, right? We've just kidnapped her, put her in a dog crate, drove her down the road, and now pulling her out of the crate in a very strange area. So she's not happy, and so we bring her in. She's bah, bah, whatever. Get her into the pen. Get her into the area, and she's whatever, right? So then we bring the baby goats over. And so we bring the baby goats, and my son is helping us. So we bring the baby goats. They're in another dog crate. So we drop the dog crate in the fenced-in area, and we open the crate. Now, what we should have done at that point is actually taken the crate into the barn and just open the gate and let them come out on their own. Instead, for whatever reason, I thought it was a great idea, or I just assumed that the thing to do was just pull them out and let them go see their mama, and things would be great. Well, so I had my son, because he's smaller, said, "Hey, pull out the goats." So he goes, pull out the goats, and the first one just out of the area like a flash, out of the crate like a flash, right through the electric fence. And I've been spending the last 2 months putting together. Not that it was that much time. It's just, in my spare time, I was working on it. Goes right through the electric fence. And I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, why? What? Why? Now, I mean, and I'm not mad at the fence. The fence is just there because if you know small livestock electric fence, it just sends a pulse out. And it's really just there to keep animals contained. But if an animal's bolting and they're small enough, like these baby goats are, you're going to blow past it. So he blew right past it. And I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't had these goats in 30 seconds and they're already loose. And I was like, all right, well, they'll come back for the mama. No, he's gone into the wind on the lamb. If you like that pun. And then the other one goes right after him. And so I'm like, well, they're gone. So I'm in a terrible mood at that point, because I figured, oh, they'll come back. They're not. The mama doesn't act distressed at all. She's just whatever. She's, dealing with her own stress or problems or whatnot, but not acting like you would expect a mama goat to act. And thus started the saga of the goats. So I was like, okay, well, they're loose. They're two small goats. They're going to get picked off by wild animals at some point, and we're never going to see them again. Or eventually they'll circle back, right? Neither happens. Now, my wife puts a picture out on Facebook, and hey, be on the lookout. And we get the next day we get a report that they're standing around in the park, right? A couple properties over. And so we go over and we look, and then we're out and looking all over for them. And out there from 8 in the evening to midnight. Got stopped by the cops. They saw him. This is where me and a buddy of mine were out there looking for him. He's got a net. He's got one of those nets you throw out to catch fish, with weights around them. I've got a regular net. And cops like, what are you doing? I was like, looking for goats. And he thought I said looking for ghosts. And it was just an interesting conversation until he realized what I was doing, what I'd said instead of ghosts. Anyway, long story short, there's sightings all over the place of these goats over the next couple of days, until finally we get one where one of my neighbors is saying, hey, they're over at our house. We get in our cars, because we're at the park at that point. We get in our cars, we come over there. Don't know where they've gone. They were in the backyard. They've moved all over the place. With my son and my buddy's son, they go off into the field chasing what they thought was a goat. Ends up being a cat. And so then we all kind of gather back around in my neighbor's backyard, and we're talking about it. And so we start looking around the property around the house. And then finally, where do they find the goats? On the stoop in the front. This is like 8:30 at night. So it's dark. They find the goats on the front stoop of this house. This house is right by a main road. And they're just standing there on the thing. It was my son's friend, my buddy, and my buddy's son. He thought it was a cat. He thought there was a cat on the stoop. Went to go pet it until he realized it had horns and that there was another one right next to it. And he's like, he's freaking out. And so I'm in the backyard talking to the owner of the house, and my buddy and another friend of mine, they end up catching the goats. Long drawn out process. As soon as we get them all packed up, we're getting ready to leave. Animal control shows up to help, I guess, or do whatever. And we're saying, we've taken care of everything. Thank you. And he goes, oh, okay. And he drives off. Thanks for nothing. So was the saga of the goats. That was one of the big happenings. Now, another more serious thing that happened was my brother's father-in-law passed away after a long illness. We're glad that he's at peace. We're glad that we're just happy that he's at peace. That there's no more pain, and we are sad to see him go. We think a little on the young side, but he'd been dealing with this illness for a while, and it's a difficult time to lose family around the holidays, around Christmas, around New Year's. But at the same time, like look forward to time to be welcomed into the arms of God again, and no more pain. And and figured out, I learned a little something this weekend. Was apparently their traditional Catholic doctrine does not allow for eulogies at the funeral. I didn't know that. Now they will allow them sometimes now, but they're very limited in time, and there's a whole thing in as to why. And I'm not going to get into that tonight, because that's not what we're here for. But Matt's in the chat now, so we are going to go back to what I initially shown. So let me pull that out. So we are going to talk about the vision of Ezekiel, which is I'm calling it the vision of Ezekiel for better understanding, but this is God coming to Ezekiel. And again, like we were saying, he's like 13 years old when he has this vision. When God comes to him, and he's got a pretty important some pretty important orders from the Lord, and God does not sound happy in Ezekiel 1 and 2. He's basically like, here I am, a showing out of the clouds in significant majesty and awe. And the orders for you are to go to these people who I am not very happy with, who I've just gotten through being punishing, who I've been warning for centuries. And I want you to try to get them to come back on the right path, to get them to understand that the punishment was for a reason. And then that was to fix behavior, because they weren't doing it on their own. They weren't doing it after warnings or threats or anything like that. So threats are not empty when it comes to the Lord. And so threats were fulfilled, their promises. But God goes, Ezekiel, you're going to tell them. Whether they choose to listen is is up to them. But you're going to go up there and talk to them. And I'm going to have your back. But you're going to be dealing with some pretty angry folks, some folks that are that have done some pretty poor things to my prophets in the past, some pretty shabby things, which is probably added to God's frustration and irritation with the Hebrews at that point. So, but the first chapter of Ezekiel really comes out with a lot of description of what is going on with this vision from Ezekiel. When God decides he's going to make his presence known to Ezekiel, he does it in a very profound way. And Matt Felty, who's a longtime member of the chat, had brought an article from Dr. Michael Heiser. I don't know much of anything about him, but he said he had some notes on Ezekiel. Now, he's got some pictures, and I mean, the pictures are not not what I was thinking when I was reading through this, but they also look very they also look a lot like what you see from Babylonian and what I'm thinking Persian illustrations, right? So let's see what his notes are. So these are the notes of Michael Heiser, and it's archaeological sketches. Okay, that makes more sense. It's not his art. Okay, good. So now I don't feel bad when I say it's not very good. The artwork's not very good, but we're looking at what we're used to seeing when we see some of these ancient drawings on and carvings on walls or wherever, right? So he's saying it's blows verse by verse running commentary on his vision in regard to whether he saw it was some sort of extraterrestrial aircraft, which a lot of people will theorize this. I know that there's people that I know who go into this mindset of this was a UFO. I am of the opinion that what people that if a person sees a legitimate unidentified flying object that is not of this world, then it is a demon, unless it shows up as an angel of the Lord, in which case we got other issues going on. But he goes, whether or not he saw was an extraterrestrial craft or not, Mike's view is that all the elements, which is weird, he's kind of referring to himself in the third person, is that all the elements of the Ezekiel vision referring to beings or objects can be accounted for in the iconography of the ancient Near Eastern world. Ezekiel was borrowing divine images familiar to the Babylonians, which is where he was, right? And he's young, so this is most of what he's seen in his life. To inform his audience that the God of Israel was the true God. Stop. Sorry, my mouse is scrolling on its own. It was the true God and still active, was still enthroned on the cherubim and not some Babylonian God. Now, we read in footnotes from chapter 2 last night, or chapter 1 last night, that what was being described is what we understand as cherubim, which are obviously very powerful beings of God, and obviously it's a very serious moment and meant to be taken seriously. But it's God still enthroned on the cherubim, not some Babylonian God, despite Israel's circumstances. Using ancient Near Eastern images and literature for theologically polemic purposes was a common practice for biblical writers. The Baal epic and the face-off between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. What a great account that was. Images used below come from a book by the great German scholar Othmar Kiel, and I don't know what and then some German stuff is all written right here. I've got this up there. I've got a link in the description y'all can follow. He said he also should point out that Ezekiel 1 and 10 are considered to be among the most problem-filled chapters in the entire Old Testament when it comes to text critical problems and manuscript disagreements. So that's interesting to know. That's worth getting into as well. I've avoided dealing with that since most readers will not know Hebrew or will never have done textual criticism. If you want to know relevant problems, see to textual discussion somewhere else, right? Creatures and platform. All right. Ezekiel 1 is the notes say, I'm going to try to keep the descriptions of the creatures and the platform they are supporting together. And so the verse will be out of order. The wheels and the wheelwork are apparently part of and inseparable from the creatures. I'll group those verses together as well. Creatures in the platform. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a flashing fire surrounded by a radiance. And in the center of it, the center of the fire, a gleam as of amber. Obviously, no mechanical parts yet. In the center of it, probably the cloud, there were figures of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They each had the likeness of a man, and each one had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they were sparkled in the color of burnished bronze. They had the hands of a man under their wings on their four sides, and they four had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined to one another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man, and the face of the lion on the right, the face of an ox on the left, and a face of an eagle on the back. Thus were their faces, and their wings stretched upward. Two wings on every one were joined to one another. Two covered their bodies. All right. That's what we read about last night. Now, here we see beings for the first time. Note the images of the statuary that account for these figures, save for the luminosity. They do not resemble any occupants in UFO-related sightings. The relevant features are they're humanoid in appearance, four animal faces, four wings, straight feet, calves' feet. Now, that's where I'm reading that. I'm nodding my head. This does not sound like what we hear of with the little green men or the big, tall, skinny, gray aliens or anything else that we've seen from the X-Files or maybe Ancient Aliens. I've never watched that show. Always kind of weird to me. But this is not, we don't see a craft, right? This isn't a spaceship when these beings are coming out of it. These beings are coming out of the storm, and the storm is a storm of fire, it's a storm of lightning, and it's a storm of wind. And they don't mention rain, but I mean, you can feel it, right? I think of, some of these images from Never-Ending Story, right? If any of you guys, I'm showing my age, if you remember Never-Ending Story, it's there's a lot of cloud movement, there's just a lot of violence in those storms, and that's kind of what I'm thinking of, that this is going on, and then these beings are coming out of there. So and they went everyone straight forward, whether the spirit was to go, they went, and they did not turn when they went. They apparently moved or had to move in tandem. So they're kind of like, and not to use, I'm thinking of Space Invaders, the game, only a lot creepier and more unnerving. But that's not to say that they are Space Invaders. But that's what I'm thinking of. They're moving when he's saying, hey, are they moving in tandem? As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was alike burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps, and went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. This apparent contradiction to the above, they either moved in tandem or not. They either had wings touching or not. Here they are described as moving about to and fro, has given rise to the notion we are dealing with perhaps two different sets of creatures. Or maybe, he's accounting for what they're doing in one moment, and then the next moment there's something else entirely. And the likeness of the expanse upon the heads of the living creatures. Here we see there's some sort of platform above the heads of the creatures. They are supporting the platform. Maybe what I was envisioning was kind of beyond them, right? Where their heads were, maybe there was a horizon point, and behind that horizon point, they see this expanse. Or maybe this is some sort of, dimensional plane point, like I said, a horizon where they're starting to see this, but they're saying Heisner's going with it's a platform, and he might be right. I don't know Hebrew. I don't know much of this stuff. So the light bridge. No, I think like that. Nico, this is wilder than I thought. Law, I only heard about the wheels thing. No, like Nico, this is, like I said, this is kind of like revelation, kind of, in the vision, right, of what's going on. or maybe Jacob when he sees the angels ascending and descending. This is a pretty crazy and difficult to digest thing to witness. But he's going to do it. He's going to do it, and he's going to tell us about it, right? Like he does in this manuscript. As the color or the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above, and under the expanse were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Everyone had two, which covered on this side, and everyone had two, which covered on that side. Their bodies, and they went and they heard. It doesn't flow that well. That's just why I like the amplified a little bit better here, but it didn't flow very well on the amplified either. Like great noise, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings, and there was a voice from the expanse that was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings. And above the expanse that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire, but round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and had brightness round about, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, as one does, and heard a voice of one that spoke. God is atop the platform, being supported by the creatures. Yeah, being supported by the creatures, like he can't support himself. But I guess that's the appearance there, right? So now he does a summary. The relevant features will assume the luminosity, since we only have dull stone statues left to us. Together are humanoid in appearance, supporting some sort of platform. Deity atop the platform, four animal faces of those supporting the platform, four wings on those creatures, wings touching each other, creatures that have straight feet that look like calves' feet. Well, those don't look like calves' feet right there. Somebody didn't understand the assignment. That's a human foot, right? But here's what they drew. In illustration 1, note the four faces. That's what they're doing here. But again, this is odd. And I know, Matt, that these aren't his drawings, but these don't look like anything more than human faces. This is just figure 3, a four-faced deity. Maybe this is okay. Maybe he's he using these as examples of what we've seen in Babylonian artwork before, that he's trying to describe it so that they understand? Because that's kind of what I got, that Ezekiel's trying to explain this so that everybody understands what's going on and what he saw. And are we likening this to what we see also in other Babylonian images? Here we go. Here's an interest. Note that in ancient Eastern iconography, there could be a variety of creatures which supported the throne of the gods. Below is a sampling. If you want more, please refer to the source above. All right. Well, these are just some images, though. If you if you get it in your algorithm, there is some times where Ezekiel 1 images. That's chapter 12. That's an interesting picture. I'll show this in a second. That's not what I wanted. There it is. So you talk about the wheels. I'm going to just take this down for a second and show what I'm seeing. That's a pretty interesting take on what they're seeing. So there's the expanse, or like you said, Matt, the white bridge here, and above it is. I haven't finished with it, Matt. These are the wheels, right? They're three-dimensional. It's not just it's not a flat wheel. These are spheres, right? In essence, in how they're shaped. And then there's the beings up there, right? You can't kind of see them because it's kind of blurry, but maybe this is there's the spheres again. You got the eyes that are inside the spheres, and this is where you get the biblically accurate text. I thought that was an interesting picture there. Let's see. Has anybody got a AI? See, AI doesn't even know where to start with this when you tell them, I guess. Ooh. No, that doesn't do a very good job. That's pretty amazing, but it's nothing to do with what was described, really. Yeah, you think it would be something massive, right? I like so this is kind of blurry, but it's kind of a vision, so it's very vivid to him, but we think of it as like something of a dream. I think Ezekiel's just trying to explain it in a way that we can understand. Ugh, read it. Not even once, guys. Ooh, angel description. That's interesting too. But it's like, where's the? It's just crazy. Ooh, here's another one. I like this. Oh, it's a Pinterest. What? Whatever. We're not going that far into it. You can do your own spelunking on the internet for that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's all over the place. All right, so he shares those. Let's see what else. I read that. I want to be on whatever spectrum sequels. He's on a whole nother plane. We're not talking about spectrum at that point, Nico. He's on a whole other plane. Saw the stone of one of the sketches on the angel one you scanned. All right, now what about those wheels? He said, now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces. Here's one wheel introduced to us out of the blue. It's clearly on the ground. The appearance of the wheels and their work. Now we have more than one wheel and some sort of wheelwork. Hebrew galgal described below. It was like a gleaming barrel, and they four had one likeness. All four had the same form, and the appearance and structure of each was as if two wheels cutting through each other. When they moved, they could move in the direction of any of its four quarters. They did not veer when they moved. As for their rims, the wheel rims, they were tall and frightening, and the rims were full of eyes all over. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went with them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Wherever the Spirit was to go, they went, etc., etc. We read through all this. This is an interesting picture here. Platform with wheels, bovine heads with touching wings, and there are four wings. Some touch at top, others folded on the body of the creature. Hooved leg bottoms adjacent to the wheels. Right? Well, not as precise as the picture above. The image below says deities being transported on wheeled platforms, chariots, which would also fly. And that's where you start thinking of UFOs. What about the eyes on the wheel? As for their rims, the wheel rims, they were tall and frightening, and the rims were full of eyes all over. Well, I've seen, now this is Michael talking. Well, I've seen at least one iconographic representation of an eyed platform. It isn't in the sources I have as yet. Hopefully, I'll be able to find again. However, we know the vision of Ezekiel 1 is incomplete. The same vision in chapter 10 adds some interesting details. So we're going to skip ahead for where we haven't read yet in chapter 10. And when I look, behold, the four wheels by the cherubims. Here we find the creatures in chapter 1 were cherubim, which we already knew from the barrel of wood description of twisting. Okay. Barrel stone. We know this from the footnotes from last night. And as for their appearances, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. And that's where I said the wheel in the midst of a wheel, or wheel in a wheel. When they went, maybe he had spinners. When they went upon their four sides, they turned not as they went, but to the place whither they had looked, they had followed it. They turned not as they went, and their whole body, and then and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they four had. Interestingly, back to the notes, the cherubim also were covered with eyes. Where are the UFO alien descriptions matching this? I do have a couple of images where the winged creatures and cherubim is covered with eyes. The best one is below. Note the eyes, the four wings, the humanoid appearance, complete with phallus, of course, and the human heads. The point of all this is to note that the fact that none of the elements of Ezekiel's vision are foreign to religious iconography of the times or before Ezekiel's era. The cloud storm element of the vision is very common to the Old Testament and is chiefly aimed at Baal, the king of the gods, at Ugarit, the storm god, which is outside Babylon, both terribly common to Israelite thinking. Hence, the vision of Ezekiel, in many respects, is amalgam of familiar early Israelite theophanic portrayals of Yahweh and Babylonian elements, all designed to put Yahweh in the picture, ousting the pagan gods. Interesting thoughts he had on that. And then there's an argument in the comments section, because there always is. So that's what we see out of that. And let's see if we can find some more. We can find some more cherubim. Let me see. I looked at that yesterday. Everything's moving differently. But we'll do, let me pull this up real quick. So this is one part where we see we got 4 wings, many heads, but here's the wheels, but it just doesn't seem right. This is moving too much. We know that they weren't moving like that. This looks all sorts of wrong. This is an interesting, lots of wings, lots of eyes. This one really caught my attention. Yeah. Vertex says describe concepts like a car, a battle tank, a helicopter, a fighter jet to somebody back in that era before electricity was even a thing. Yeah. Yeah. Now try to explain deities, right? Or the heavenly host. Oh, that's creepy. Look like glasses. Some of the stuff's moving too fast. Ezekiel 1. Interesting. He's got kind of the storm. Like I said, I think this is all AI generated. There we go. There you go, Matt. That's a really good kind of thought. It's flames and lightning and just storms. It's like, and they use like a tornado. They're still moving too much. It sounded to me like they were very straightforward. The Guardian Angel logo. Like Boomer Grandma would watch AI narrated slop. I mean, there's no.
Beside each living creature.
Oh, there is a guy talking. I just unmuted it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so we see the so this is a kind of an interesting part where see how it's the wheels, right? And now there's no platform at the top, so come on. So we see the wings, but they're also wrapped in wings, and the heads are kind of obscured, but you would think that they would be as described. But you got the wheels kind of moving. There's only 2 here, should be 4. That's creepy. Here's Porcupine perspective. Said I've seen the evil entities in the dark void, the energy suck that their presence brings. Confusion and fear came upon me. I'd prefer an angel. Oh yeah, I mean, so interestingly enough, I had a boss who is now saved. He was saved at the time. But he was kind of. We were talking about. Maybe I'll let that play in the background. We were talking about faith because I think maybe I'd just been made a deacon at that point. And, I'd talked to him about it. So we sat down. But he talked about when he was a kid that there were some, he was not, he was kind of dabbling in the occult, I guess to say, and they were performing rituals. And something happened, and he didn't like talking about it, but something happened, and he had seen things, kind of like what you're talking about, the evil entities, the dark void. And it's scared. That's the scared straight part. And maybe these images are wrong, but this is kind of setting the stage and setting the theme for, what is it? What would it kind of look like? Give you kind of just an impression of just kind of, if you're sitting there and you're watching this, how do you see it? Right. And is that you think about the expanse, and it's just like this. I would think it would probably be closer to this right here or this right here than what's going on here. Who knows? Maybe it could be wrong. It's like an AI slop, right? But if you could put yourself in the shoes of a 13, not only that, because Vertax described all that stuff like a helicopter to a 13-year-old back then. And yeah. And Matt, this is one of the things I've learned. There are folks out there, like my boss, like Porcupine, who have seen some stuff. Now it doesn't cross our paths as much here in the US as it does when you get out into the third world. There are people who have been to mission trips in Haiti where there's a lot of hoodoo and voodoo, and you hear the stories of the kind of stuff that they're screwing around with out there. You talk to people and kind of the stuff that goes on in. I don't think he literally ate it though, dude. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think he actually ate the scroll. AI taking things too literally. Don't ever change AI. That will keep you from running the earth. Probably not. People have been down to close this out. It's lame now. Been down in South America where there's a lot of mix. Even if the Christianity it's down there's a lot of old pagan mixed into that, right? Pachamama. You remember what the Aztecs and the Mayans and all Incans were all dabbling in with human sacrifice before the conquistadors came and brought Christ and Western civilization to them. But there's some significant stuff out there. There's a reason why the Israelites were punished. It wasn't because there were some false gods, but there was also mention of very real Asherah, Baal, Mammon, Molech. They're out there, minions of Satan, and they didn't just disappear, even though they were defeated. Even though they all were defeated at Christ's resurrection, they're still out there, and they can still get to you if you're not careful. We just exist in a more we exist in a culture that assumes everything is rational and reasonable. And yes, like Matt said, Porcupine, glad you got out of that. Okay. So All right, well, that's going to wrap up our stream for tonight. Thanks for the suggestion to kind of sidebar that a little bit, Matt. And tomorrow, if I get a chance, if we're still streaming, we will pick up our reading of Ezekiel. It's been pretty good so far. Ezekiel's good. Daniel's around the corner too. So we got some more great narrative driven biblical books to go through in the immediate future. So I'm really excited about it. We see that everything seems to run a little bit more upbeat and at a better pace. But yeah. Next week might only stream one day. Might only stream Thursday. We'll see. Might not be able to stream at all. We're just gonna be limited. We've got some family stuff going on that's gonna just take up a lot of my time. And if I get a chance to stream, we will. If not, I'll see you the following week because I should be right back at it afterwards. So to Matt Felty, thank you for the suggestion. Porcupine, glad to see you. Glad to see and have you here. Nico, happy New Year, sir. Veritax, praying for you, buddy. Alias, Carl, we know and love. Guys, the chat is awesome. Love having you guys here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I thank you each and every time I see you because it means that much to me. Thank you for being here and doing what you do. I love it. To the people who are not commenting, that's fine. I want you to know that I welcome your input. I want to hear from you. So don't think that you can't or you shouldn't or, we're going to clown you or anything. No, I want to hear from you. But if you just want to listen, I'm just glad you find this channel to your liking and appreciate it. Right. And you keep coming back. And you're part of the small group, even if you are a wallflower about it. And to everybody, before I get there, Jason or Porcupine saying, the closer and stronger I've grown in my faith the past 2 years, the more spiritual warfare has been present and the veil is thinning. Prayer, buddy. Prayer. All right. Don't get lost in that. Okay. Don't get lost in those with that veil and everything. You belong here. They don't belong here. So just remind yourself of that and reach out to God. So everybody who is catching this on replay, thank you. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I missed you, and I look forward to catching you live sometime soon. Everybody have a good night and God bless. See y'all later.